Dear student, welcome to the next part of the lesson where we're going to focus on contrasting ideas. This is basically writing about opposite things. And in this case, we're going to use 4 words, which are while, whereas, conversely, and in contrast, as you can see on the screen here. And one thing that you have to pay attention here is the punctuation that I have used. I have deliberately used the punctuation, and the meaning of these all words is the same. So these words are used to contrast things, to write about the opposite things. But the slight difference here is that in the punctuation. So the first 2 words, while and whereas, they are used to link the 2 sentences, and you form one huge sentence consisting of 2 sentences. So this is going to be one huge sentence connected with the word while and whereas, and you have to use a comma before these words, while and whereas. While the 2 words which come next, which are conversely and in contrast, are also used to write about contrasting 2 things, but you have 2 separate sentences linked with the words conversely and contrast. And when you are linking these 2 sentences, you have to use full stop before conversely and comma after conversely. And the same happens in contrast here. So you have to use a full stop before in contrast and a comma after contrast. So this is also used to contrast, but as you can see, the punctuation is different. Now, the point of teaching you this in detail, the punctuation, the commas and the full stops, is because this is also something that examiners judge. They mark your essay, and their mark will also depend on how you use the punctuation properly. So make sure that you don't miss those commas and full stops, because these are very simple things that you should know, and the examiners will be looking for those. If you are making a mistake, they're going to downgrade your mark. Now let's try to understand the words, how to use them, and let's start with the 2 words first, while and whereas. And this time we'll be looking at newspaper advertising. So if you look at the newspaper advertising part, we can see that Puma spent $125,000 on newspaper advertising, while Adidas spent $75,000 on newspaper advertising. So there is a huge difference, and the way to write about this is to contrast those 2 ideas. So look, this one is spending more, while the other one is spending less. So this is the way you're going to connect those 2 simple sentences to form a complex sentence. And the way you connect those 2 sentences can be done by the use of while and whereas. So let's try to combine those 2 sentences, and our sentence would look like this. Puma spent $125,000 on newspaper advertising, while Adidas spent $75,000. So you can see, for making up a complex sentence isn't that difficult here. So I'm using the word while, I'm just combining those 2 sentences, and as you can see, now I'm forming a more complex sentence, which will give me a higher mark than those 2 simple sentences. So and you can see the punctuation here. So after the first part, after the Puma spent $125,000 on newspaper advertising part, I'm using a comma, and then I'm using the word while, and then I'm just writing the second part of the sentence, which is Adidas spent $75,000. Now you could also use the same sentence, but this time you could use the word in contrast and conversely. So we have the same expenditure on newspaper advertising, $125,000 and $75,000, but this time we're going to use in contrast and conversely. So let's read it one more time. Now this time we'll be using different words. Puma spent $125,000 on newspaper advertising. In contrast, Adidas spent $75,000. So you can see here again, I'm contrasting 2 things. I'm indicating that this one spent more while the other one spent less. And the way I'm doing this is through the use of the word in contrast. And the difference between this one and the previous example is only in punctuation. So you can see here I'm using the full stop and the comma before the in contrast. So before in contrast, I'm using the full stop, and after it I'm using the comma. Now instead of the word in contrast, you could also use the word conversely, Now the meaning of the sentence wouldn't change at all, and it would be the same sentence but with the use of the word conversely. Now, as you can see, making up complex sentence, contrasting ideas is very simple thing, and the words that will help you to contrast things are while, whereas, in contrast, and conversely. So these are very easy words to remember, and the structure is also very simple, but you have to make sure that you remember how to use the proper punctuation. So with while, you connect those two simple sentences, and you use a comma. While in contrast, while using in contrast, you have to use a full stop and comma. So make sure that you remember this stuff and make your sentence more complex, and of course get a higher mark in the task 1 section of the exam. This brings us to the end of this part of the lesson. In the next part, we're going to summarize all the knowledge that we have learned during this course, and you'll see that how you can actually make up complex sentence in many different ways. So summary is also going to be very interesting. Don't miss that out. See you soon. Take care.